Hi, this is Pat Grady of Embellishing Bliss. Welcome to week 1 of Navigate the Journey. I'm so excited that you're going to be spending the next 6 weeks with me as we navigate this journey we call life. The first week, we're going to be working on what I call anticipation. This whole course is based on using a visual journal, a place that you can go to really figure out what do you want to do the next stage of your life. Or maybe you're very young and thinking, how am I going to move on? What am I going to do next? So the first week is anticipation. Each week we're going to take a different word and we're going to kind of dig deep and figure out how that's going to help us to move on to the next stage. But the first week is anticipation. And so in preparation for this week, I went online and looked up the actual definition of anticipation. And there were several different definitions, but the first one was the act of looking forward, especially a pleasurable expectation. And I kind of think about it of anticipating when you're thinking about going on a big trip. I think part of the fun is getting ready for it and finding, the right flip-flops and swimming suit if you're going somewhere fun. So the idea of really getting things prepared so that you can enjoy your trip or your journey. The second definition was visualization of a future event or state. So what we're going to do in this anticipation is figure out what are we going to be hoping to achieve in the next 6 weeks. Looking forward to what does that look like at the end of the 6-week course, maybe even at 6 months or a year from now. What is it that you hope to gain or learn through this journey that we're going to be taking? And the other anticipation definition is a mental attitude that influences a later response. So I'm really hoping that through this experience that you can look at it as a positive thing. How are we going to maybe change what we're doing to go in a different direction, if that's what you want to do, or to dig in a little bit deeper? So you might say, why anticipation for the first week? And it's getting you prepared, not only physically prepared, but mentally and emotionally prepared to take the next step. So one of the main things that we're going to want to do this week is figure out what is our intention. Why did you decide to take this course? Here are some thought starters for you. Why did you sign up for the class? Is there something that you want more of or less of in your life? What do you hope to gain from this experience? And then at the end of the 6 weeks, how are you going to know if it's been worthwhile? Now, all the things that I'm talking about here are also in the handout that is part of the email that you received along with this video. So I really highly recommend that you print it out. There are some questions for you to take a look at. I consider this your home play. It's going to kind of help guide you through the week. So you're going to kind of write some of your thoughts down on this sheet, and from this, I want you to come up with your exact intention. And on this sheet, I talk about what those might be. One might be to, I know when I took this course over a year ago, my intention was to discover revenue streams for my creative work. It might be to take an inner journey to learn more about me. There are other examples on the sheet, but I want you to really think hard about it. What is it that you really want to get out of this? The second thing is we're going to start thinking about this week is developing a habit. I know that everyone is so busy. You're probably thinking, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to be able to fit one more thing into my busy schedule. And one of the ways that you can do this is to pair your experience with your visual journal with something you already do. And if you're a morning person, it might be something you want to do with your very first cup of coffee or tea or water, whatever you have in the morning, and that you've set aside your 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is, to really spend some time in your journal and enjoying that time just for you. It might be right after lunch, and it might be, if you're a night owl, after the rest of the family goes to bed. That's your time. You need to figure out what that time is. So once you've determined what your intention is, then the other piece you want to take a look at is when are you going to do it? And then the second thing after that is where are you going to do it? I happen to have an amazing studio that I love to come down to in the morning and spend some time in my journal. But if you don't have a studio, that's okay. You might want to clear a space on your desk or on the dining room table. Just find a place that you feel comfortable. Maybe it's by a window that you have a great view, so that you know that this is the time and this is the space that you're going to use to really spend some time in your journal. I want to talk a little bit about this week and what it is that I'm going to ask you to do. We're not going to actually do so much as more prepare. So one of the things that you are going to need to get this week is your actual journal. I'm going to show you some samples. This is a small journal. I think it's about 5 by 8. This would be the smallest size that I would recommend. Probably the most important thing about the journal is you want it to have blank pages. You don't want to have lines on it. I happen to prefer a hardbound book. I think it's a little bit more sturdy. This is the smallest size. I actually use a little bit bigger size. More like an 8.5 by 11. This one happens to have be a ring bound one. Some people like that because they can lay it flat like this or fold it back. I happen to use a hardbound journal. I'll show you one that actually is already full. This journal started out with a blank or a black outside cover, just like the small journal I showed you. But I had, did a lot of painting and had some fun with it. But I tend to put a lot of stuff in my journal. You can see some painted pages here. I add a lot of paper, whether it is from magazines or classes that I'm taking, those sorts of things that I put into the book. So you're going to want to get one of those this week. If you happen to have a journal that you've been saving for something special, that's great. These books can be bought at, whether it be a craft store, maybe I happen to get mine at Michael's. They're not outrageously expensive. I think the big book is maybe $10, and I usually use a coupon, so I get it for $5 or $6. Then the next thing, while you're at the store, you may want to pick up some paint. We're going to be using paint in our journals. I just use these little inexpensive 2-ounce squeeze bottles. You might want to get maybe 10 or 12 of them, different colors that you really like. Pick up a couple of light colored ones so that you are able to go over some darker colors, because then we'll be writing over top of those with markers. I happen to use just really inexpensive super tip markers. They're Crayola brand, inexpensive, again, can be gotten at Target or Walmart or a lot of office supply places. One other thing would be a glue stick. I happen to like the Elmer's brand. It's completely up to you. And then one other thing that I use is old either gift cards or credit cards to smear the paint around. Once we use the little squirt bottles, we will squeeze them directly onto the book and then use this to move the paint around a little bit. So those are supplies that you're going to need eventually. We won't probably be using anything but the journal this week or next week, but if you're at the store, you might as well pick up some of those other supplies. One of the other things, and all of this, like I said, is on your document that I've had here. So it's not like you have to take huge notes or anything. That information is already ready for you. The other thing that you're going to want to be doing a little scavenger hunt around your house to find resource materials. And those can come from things like magazines that you go through and pull out pages. Maybe there are certain colors you like, or there's a headline. Things that as you're flipping through the magazine and they make you stop because of a color or maybe it's a word, just stop and pull those things out. You're going to want to start putting them in a box or collecting them somewhere, because as we go along on this course, we're going to be using some of those sorts of things. The other thing is paper. You know, this was some tissue paper I actually painted, but there are all different kinds of printed tissue paper that work well. Another thing I do is collect old calendars when the year's over. A lot of these have really pretty pictures or sayings or things on them, and I find them really useful in putting this together. Then one of the last things I want to talk about is the guidelines for this course. I once took a class from a guy, and he put up this great big sheet of paper, and these are the rules for the class. And I don't know, I tend to be a little bit of a rule bender, so rules was a little strong word for me. So I came up with guidelines. And when I was teaching this course in my studio a year ago, I was trying to figure out, okay, so what are my rules or my guidelines going to be? And I wasn't sure how many I needed or what they were going to be, or once I came up with these guidelines, how I was going to remember them. So since this course is called Navigate the Journey, I thought, well, journey is a good word. So you will find this in your document as well. And this talks about Navigate the Journey guidelines. And along this side of the page is the word journey, or journeys actually. And so each of the letters stand for one of the guidelines. And the J stands for judgment is not allowed. And this means that I am not going to judge you if your pages in your journal are beautiful. I don't want you, that no one else in the class is going to judge you. And I think the biggest piece is don't judge yourself. This is your place to play, to take an inner journey, to experience what it is that you want to do. It's your time. So don't judge yourself. The O is being open to possibilities. What are my options? What do I want to take a look at? You know, there are a lot of possibilities out there, but if you're not open to them, you know, they're probably not going to happen for you. The U is understand that it is not always easy. I'm not going to tell you that once you are, you know, working in your visual journal, your life is going to be beautiful and nothing is going to happen. I mean, that's not realistic. So that you understand it's not always easy, but by using the visual journal, it's going to help you get through some difficult times. The R is relax and roam. You know, I mean, you don't have to be in perfect student posture. You know, sometimes just get up and move, you know, move your shoulders around, just breathe and, you know, start thinking, dance, do whatever you need to, but, you know, get up and move around. The N is negative energy is left outside. You know, when you come into this space to work on your visual journal, just leave the negative energy outside. Be positive. Think great thoughts. The E is explore and have fun. That is what we're going to do in this class. We're going to have a great time, and I want you to be open to that. The Y is you. You are in charge of your destiny. I want you to remember that it's up to you to make this work. And then the last S, because it's journeys, is that this is a safe space. Whatever happens in this class stays in this class, and that you should feel safe in this environment. So I wanted to let you know we are going to have a conference call. It will be on Friday. All the details of it are in the document that you've been sent, and it will be from 10 to 11 o'clock on Friday, and that is Central Time. So I hope that this is going to be a great week for you, a start to a wonderful journey, and I look forward to talking with all of you on the conference call on Friday. Have a great week.